the Stanley picture. We're live here, but I like him a lot. I think he's a good guy. I've through the years have gotten to know a lot of great people in this business. Here's two of them right here. Well, I'll tell you what. Garage Happy Hour is back, ladies and gentlemen. Garage Happy Hour is back. It's good to be back. My mom just showed up at the house. Like it's just like the good old days of the Garage Happy Hour. I've got a beer. My dogs are going nuts because there's a rabbit running around in the yard. I mean, it's, we're having a good old time over here. Look at this. I mean, here we are. You got the general manager on the left of World Wide Technology Raceway. That's Chris Blair, even though he has a Curtis Francois name over him. And, and to the right, that is Curtis Francois, who took over this track a decade ago. Congratulations. I just heard we celebrated 10 years of that. And World Wide Technology Raceway is ready to rock. This is the Bommarito Automotive Group 500 weekend. It's here. It's tomorrow. And we are live right now in the Garage Happy Hour. Gentlemen, it's great to be with you.
Great to be with you, Tom. Been too long.
It has been too long. This is your second appearance. This is a rare thing, a encore appearance on the Garage Happy Hour. I think Ozzie Smith's the only one who's made a so that's pretty good. I will say this, and we're going to be joined by Will Power in just a moment from Team Penske, who will be racing on Saturday night in the INDYCAR race, the Bommarito Automotive Group 500. I think, if my stats are correct, that the second most watched Garage Happy Hour of all time is with you two, John Bommarito, and Graham Rahal. I'm pretty sure that's right. I think number one all time, and it's going to be tough to knock him off, is Albert Pujols. That was a good one. But I think you're number two all time, and that just goes to show the power of racing, and not only in this community, but the sharing around the country and around the world. And that's really what we're going to see this weekend, isn't it?
Well, part of that's because John Bommarito forced all of his employees to watch it. So that had something to do with it.
That is also true. But Curtis, this is fun, isn't it? I mean, it's here, and you guys look very comfortable and happy, which tells me that you're prepared and ready to roll. I mean, you got a lot going on over there, obviously, but we're ready to go.
Yeah, we are. It's something we look forward to all year. And, the last few weeks are hectic, but it's a great kind of hectic because we know we're about to pull off another big show. And, we're just excited. We're excited to be back. We're in the business of racing, so we like to have it here. And it's been a tough, 15 months or so. And we're expecting a full crowd. Ticket sales have been really great. And weather forecast looks good. All the things that point to another big WWTR night that's memorable.
Absolutely. Bommarito Automotive Group actually sponsors this show, and they put their name on your race. It was an idea between the two of you to do this, and boy, did that work out for them. I mean, what a great move for them to get some worldwide attention. They're the only that I know of local sponsors. Isn't that right, Chris? Of any IndyCar race, and maybe even beyond that.
And that was the thing when we worked out the arrangement with Bommarito. There were some people in the industry that thought, well, they're going with a local sponsor. They need to be having the big corporations, the big national sponsors. And at the time, having worked at other places where we would have those big corporate sponsors that would fly in on Thursday before the race, you go to dinner with them, you talk about a few things, you'd put on the event, and then they would leave, and you wouldn't see them again for another year. With Chuck Wallace, the general manager of Bommarito, and John Bommarito, it's like they basically moved in with us. I mean, there's times where Chuck's having meetings in our office because they want it to be perfect. They want to be so engaged. And the great part about that is their power here in the St. Louis market has helped us tremendously. It also enabled me to then take my focus and move out to some of the other areas. So Indianapolis, Louisville, Little Rock, Arkansas, outlying markets to focus on some of my efforts. And it's worked out tremendously. Now, what was funny is after people saw that, it went from being you have to have the big corporate sponsor to you need a sponsor like Bommarito if you want to succeed. So we kind of like flip-flopped the whole industry with what we did. And it's kind of set the standard where a lot of people were overlooking those little guys, so be it. Now everybody wants a John Bommarito, and it's fantastic. This is race number 5 for us. It keeps building and getting better, and we've become really close friends, and we all kind of share the same vision. We have so much fun in producing this race. I think that at times outweighs everything else we're doing. It's because we enjoy working with one another so much. It makes it a special moment for all of us. Really does.
I had Chuck Wallace in my office this morning, the general manager of Bommarito Automotive Group. Boy, he have a smile on his face. Sitting to his left was Jordan Anderson, who is driving the number 3 Bommarito Chevrolet. What a great story that is. For those on the Garage Happy Hour audience who aren't familiar, this young man needed a set of tires. You reached out to Bommarito and said, hook this guy up. And Jordan said, well, wasn't that easy? Like, this is a car salesman here. So we had to negotiate a little bit. Cost me a little bit, but they got it done. And here he is driving tomorrow night in that race. The Camping World NASCAR Truck Series is here. That's a great story. I really like that too. That's one of many great stories. NASCAR Trucks has a lot of color to it. It's a pretty special series.
Well, I think, folks look out for one another. And, there's another part to that story, Tom, that involves Jim Cassidy, our friend, that he reached out to me right about the time that we were about to get our first truck race. And he said, hey, there's a guy by the name of Jordan Anderson who's just struggling. He's a nice kid. He's trying so hard. And after the race, if you got any work for him to do, he'd like to stick around and earn a couple of extra bucks. And I think what Jim had in mind was that he would do some media and some things for us. But I think what Chris had in mind is we needed a guy to do some sweeping and some sticker removal and some banner stuff. And so, hey, Jordan didn't say a word. He just jumped right in. And he's just a stellar young man, not even a young man anymore. He's just a great guy. And congratulations, he's getting married pretty soon. So.
No, it's awesome. It is exciting. So, Chris, you got NASCAR Trucks tomorrow night. You have INDYCAR on Saturday night, back-to-back night races. It's very, very nice. I mean, it's a little warm as we're talking right now, but as soon as the sun goes down, it cools off about 15, 20 degrees. That feels pretty good, and then off you go. And I think it's also very important to note that people are starting to camp there, and that you have a lot of activity going on besides those 2 races. You have a lot going on over there. I don't know how you keep it all straight, but you've been planning it for a while.
Yeah, just this week coming up. So on Thursday after the IndyCar race, we have the Hot Rod Power Tour, which is the world's largest rolling car show. So we're going to have anywhere from 6,000 to 10,000 street rods coming in here on Thursday. Then we go into Formula Drift, which is the biggest drifting show in the world. So they're going to be here on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Then the following week, we have a hot air balloon festival and all kinds of other stuff, a barbecue festival going on. So we cram as much as we can into this weather opportunity that we have here in St. Louis. And one of our goals was to be able to operate year-round. And with Christmas lights, we have Wonder Lights coming back again this year. We're achieving that goal. I came from Las Vegas Motor Speedway where we were open year-round, and my goal was to chip away and try to make this program similar to that. Curtis has given us all the tools we need to make that happen. And we were going through a list the other day. The only track on the planet now that has more events than us is Vegas. And it's my goal that at some point down the road, I want to beat them. That's my goal. I've set my standards there. But, we've got something to shoot for, and we just want to add more events and be everything to everybody here in St. Louis.
Yeah, I'm leading. Yeah, go ahead, Curtis.
By the way, I encourage that line of thinking to beat Vegas. So every chance that I get, I let him know, that's just fine. Let's keep it at that. But it's been amazing how, it's been a decade now. We just continue to move forward, and it's not, a one-shot wonder here. This is about 10 years of measured growth, making sure that we lay a very firm foundation so that as we continue to grow, we're still poised for the next step and the next step. And, it's worked with people that have a passion like Chris and myself, all the staff here. it's just starting to really come together, and we're looking forward to even bigger and better things as we keep moving forward.
Yeah, I believe it. And, it's I mentioned to people today on social media, but I've said this on KMOX a lot. I've entered into a partnership with you all as a ambassador where I can talk to sports fans about it, and also, consult you on some things that I see out there, because it's a sports venue. And I think that, and this, that it's limitless what you can do over there. I know it's a racetrack, and it's World Wide Technology Raceway, and some still know it as Gateway, which is fine. I mean, it has a name though, and a great sponsor. And the more people know about it, and it's there right on the doorstep of the arch, it's important to note that there's a lot of room for growth. And I'm not privy to the exact plans that are going on, but I do know that you bought yourself a golf course, and from the tip of the racetrack to the tip of the golf course is a huge piece of property. So there's a lot of possibilities there, isn't it, Curtis?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, we're looking for the current needs, but also for future needs. We actually just acquired another piece of property that will allow us to expand our camping offering. And so, we continue to build out to make sure that for the next decade, we're prepared to handle whatever comes. And that's really an important piece is that all the work that's going on in the first decade, we want to really try to harvest a lot of that opportunity that's been created, but that it's set up for the next 20 years or 30 years or 50 years. It's made to be a fixture in our community. We take pride in our community, and that's what we're working on doing here. And I wanted to mention something else. We were talking about John and Chuck and how hard they work. That comes from a place of pride in their community. And you just don't see a sponsor work like that, unless they're personally invested in it, and they're using their personal capital through the business, through their social, to make sure that they're demonstrating their pride in our city. So it's really a tremendous partnership. We're fully aligned.
Yeah, it's outstanding. It's a really great partnership. A lot of great people that are involved in everything. And you look at this weekend, and when you finally see, Curtis, that green flag, and by the way, Chuck's going to be holding on very tight when he waves that. He has not. And I know he told me today that, when the cars go by, there is a rush of air that comes up that you got to hang on tight. So he knows what he's doing. But that has to be an incredible thrill for you. You have a great history, Curtis, in motorsports. It never ever gets old. In fact, it gets new. It's like that you've accomplished something else, and that you have a lot of people showing up to an event is very special. And it's interesting that we talked about the worldwide audience watching, but you actually have a very large group of people in the seats from out of town. That's really good for St. Louis. I mean, that's exactly what we ask, isn't it? Is for people to come and spend their time and their money here.
Yeah, I think that's at the core of what we're doing is trying to create something that is really desirable for fans all over the world. And so if you're close enough, you can drive in, you want to fly in, however you want to get here, we're creating something that is just compelling for our city. And, to Chuck's point, when he's in that starter stand, there are moments like that. I think that you and I shared one a couple years ago when Takuma Sato. Yeah, I gotta get that. Yeah, when he won, you're sitting there and you're just taking in a moment, and you realize, hey, this is something special. Well, every time that green flag flies, and I feel that rush of air and the roaring motors as they go by, it's a whole nother memory. So I just feel privileged to be a part of, making those memories, not only for myself, but certainly for all the fans and folks in the region that take it all in. It's a cool thing and a great partnership with our community.
Yeah, when Sato won, I tweeted a photo of him, actually a video of him celebrating, and it started to get retweeted and shared in a language that I didn't understand, and I was really happy about that. I mean, I was just thrilled. I mean, I'm like, wow, this is amazing how fast this went around the world, and how excited his fans were for him, and fans here in the United States for him and for the other drivers. And it's really a special sport with a ton of growth. I think it has appeal to young people. I think the drivers, Chris, are very, very accessible. And I cover a lot of sports, and they are. I mean, hockey players are great. I think the baseball players, when they're warming up before the game, sometimes have a chance to walk over and sign some autographs. Like, no, but there isn't a sport where you can't get to the athletes necessarily if you time it right. And they understand and appreciate the fans. But there's something really special about motorsports. I'm not really sure how all of that started and who started that, but the accessibility to the drivers is pretty special. And once we get out of this pandemic, it'll be even more so. But they're pretty amazing, aren't they, in interacting, and that's how they make fans for life.
Well, and the IndyCar drivers, more so than some of the other forums. I've been fortunate that I had a career, worked for NHRA for many years, and developed a lot of close friendships with some of the top stars in that sport. And their mindset was always about the fans. And I never really saw that until working with the IndyCar drivers. They share that so much, so that when I'll be in a restaurant in Indianapolis, or I'll be at a trade show somewhere, and I'll run into an IndyCar driver, and they'll go out of their way to thank us for what we're doing, because they're so happy. And they always say, whatever we can do to help, we're there for you. Will is a perfect example of that. Graham Rahal is another one that's a great example. James Hinchcliffe, I saw him a few days ago, and this is a guy who has, all these guys have huge international followings. And they come to me to thank us for what we do for our race and want to know what they can do to help our fans. And I shot Curtis a text this morning when I drove in. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to be on here. Is I drove into a racetrack for work today. I've been doing this for almost 30 years. And I get to drive into a racetrack. I get to promote top series in the world. I get to work with some of the greatest drivers that have ever existed. And they contact us because they want to help us. I get to work for the best boss on the planet. And, there's a few other things I threw into that text, but it's like, if there was ever an opportunity to say, I've been blessed, God answering prayers, that happened for me, because, I'm just a hillbilly kid from Kentucky who's getting to live his dream and getting to do all this. And to see these drivers and what they do. And Jay Fry, the president of IndyCar, I was just with him a few minutes ago, and he's thanking us for what we do and for Curtis putting on the race. It's just so special. And that's one of the things, too, that I love these drivers. I love this series. Now that Roger Penske has control of it, I think it's unlimited where this is going to go. And it's built on this foundation that IndyCar loves its fans. And that's the way all sports really should be.
There's no doubt. And, I think that, and I'm not just saying this because Curtis is sitting there, but you want your owners to be fans of the sport, I think, but you want them to also be caring about the community. And we really honestly do have that. I mean, we have Bill DeWitt, who is a baseball fan first. You have Tom Stillman is a hockey fan first. You have the MLS ownership. The Taylor family is St. Louis, like as St. Louis as it gets. All they care about is making St. Louis happy. I mean, they could be anywhere they want. They have the resources to do it. They want to be here. They're doing this out of love for the city of St. Louis, and that's where it all starts. Curtis, how did it start for you? I mean, really take me back to that. I mean, how close was it that this gorgeous track that we see, the Austin Blair drone shot right here, was about to be sold for scrap? How close was that?
Well, it certainly didn't look exactly like that picture, but that's the vision that I had. And the track was really not an old track at all. It was only about 13 years old, and really just due to a corporate restructuring, it was closed in 2010. It didn't take long for it to fall in disrepair. There's an ongoing part of keeping this monster looking shiny like the new penny it does right before race day. But I really, Tom, I saw that there was an opportunity, but it didn't take long to realize that if we lost this opportunity, it probably wouldn't be coming back. And it was that dire that it was time for someone to step up and do something. It just so happened that the good Lord put me in that spot at the right time. I had a real estate background and a racing background, and just enough craziness to say, I'll take this thing on. And I honestly never looked back, and I've never second guessed it. I've worked harder on this project than anything I've done in my career, but it's been the most fulfilling, without a doubt, because it didn't take long for the village to come alongside me. And it's just a win for the city, for the region. My partners on the Illinois side and the Missouri side coming together like they haven't many times in the past. Some firsts are happening just because of this racetrack. And so each day I wake up and say, I'm going to go do what's in front of me. And that seems to work very, very well, that we just seize those opportunities and work with the great people of our region here.
It's going to be a lot of fun this weekend. So you have NASCAR Trucks Friday night, INDYCAR Saturday night. We talked about NASCAR Trucks a little bit, and we have talked INDYCAR, but I talked to Simon Pagino, and on that fan interaction, what he told me was that when he grew up, he's from France, and when he grew up in Europe and was following racing, it's actually sometimes for these guys it's a bad experience that turns them into great socially responsible drivers. I mean, he was looking for autographs and he got turned down when he was a kid, and he thought to himself, I will never let that happen to a kid. I'm just not going to let that happen. So that's why he is known as one of the best to interact with people. It's things like that are really special. But that guy can flat out drive, and willpower might be joining us here in a bit. My understanding is, and people need to understand that, like, he's about to drive in a major race in 48 hours, and it's possible that his scheduling might not allow him to join us here live. But, these guys, he just won an Indy over the weekend. It takes them seriously 2, 3, sometimes 4 days to recover from that. I mean, to get back to 100%. Probably yesterday. So here he is getting ready to race in 48 hours. But anyway, it's incredibly intense. Chris, I can't even imagine. And the guy to your left here is a lot of experience behind the wheel. But Chris, you've been around these guys. It's unbelievably intense. And for IndyCar, watching them 2, 3 wide coming down gives you chills. But it's really good racing. The other thing that Simon said, Chris, was that the unique thing about your track is that you can sit in a seat and see everything. He said it's like driving in a stadium, and I thought that was a really well put, comparison to how he feels.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Curtis and I were at a race a few weeks ago, and we realized that when you're watching some of the races, you only get to see different portions of what's going on, and even at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it's 2.5 miles, but the way it's laid out, you can't see the whole racetrack. And I got started thinking about it. I think, one of our best selling points is from any seat in the house, you can see the whole racetrack. And you can kick back. And Tom, as you described a few years ago, you can go kick back in the grandstands, have a cold beverage, and you've got the skyline behind you. You've got racing in front of you. And that's one of the great things about our venue. You can see it all right there. And with our track, it's not a cookie cutter like some of the racetracks that are out there where you can just do the same setup and you just follow a particular line, and that's good. At this racetrack, you have to really work to get around. It's different shapes on different corners. Everything's different. Long straightaways. I've talked to a lot of racers. They like to come here to test because it enables them to set up for so many different racetracks. They can look at different comparisons on what they need to do. So, and for the fans, you never know what to expect. Some guys are going to be really good on the straightaways, or they're going to be really good down in 3 and 4. Others are going to master turns 1 and 2. So it's a driver's racetrack. You have to be really, really good. And it's one of the things I found is the drivers who I know possess a lot of skill in some of the other series, they love World Wide Technology Raceway because they get to rise to the top. The other guys who are just kind of out there cruising because they were the right place at the right time when they found their ride, they don't like us as much. And so they hate the racetrack. So we have some drivers that hate racing here, some that love racing here. It just makes a great show all the way around. It's a fantastic fan experience to see.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's an unbelievable physical. I don't think people realize, Curtis, how much of a physical toll that takes on the drivers. I think maybe that if you're not, and that's okay. I mean, if you're not into racing and you're a casual sports fan, watching it, you might think, well, they just turn the wheel. Well, there's no power steering on an IndyCar. I mean, they're putting in some work, and you're looking at turns 1 and 2 right there on the bottom of the screen. I mean, that is tight right there, and it does take some strategy, doesn't it?
Well, no doubt about it. And as Chris mentioned, you're setting your car up for one end or the other. You optimize it one end or the other. And so you're creating your own extra work because on one end of the track or the other end of the track, you're going to have to put in extra effort to wheel that car around that because you might be set up for 3-4, come into 1-2, and it's going to be a little tough. It could be challenging. I think there's the physical piece of it, clearly, an endurance piece. But I can tell you that from my racing days, the mental piece of what it takes to be a top level, top tier racer is what separates winners from guys that just can go around that track. I kind of like to explain it as being the concentration it might take to thread a needle. Try doing that for 2 hours straight with no break. You really have no time to catch your breath other than when you pull in for a pit stop on our track. So it's full concentration every second of every minute for a couple of hours. Not everybody can do that. And so it makes you certainly appreciate what these athletes are doing.
Yeah, it's unbelievable focus. It really is. And as we know in sports, it is 95% mental, and it is just an incredible grind that they go through. And I'm pretty excited about seeing how it all turns out on Saturday. So let's talk about real briefly how, if you're coming to the race or if you're thinking about coming, how to get in there. So one thing that you've done really, really well is you've been able to alleviate some of the parking or traffic issues, I would say, getting in and out. Wouldn't you say, Curtis, is that's been one of the focuses right now?
Since day one, I've been reminded prior to my ownership that there was a problem with parking in traffic. And so, as Chris knows, in 2012 and 2013, I had my own flashlight with the orange piece on the end of it, and I've learned to direct traffic, not because I really enjoyed that, but because I needed to learn. And we watched, and we continue to fine tune that to a few years ago. We really got it figured out. And so that's a big priority for us. We've also added so much extra parking since, the old days. There's about 15,000 new parking spots. We can park as many folks as we ever would need to here. Rebuilt roadways, rethought the way the traffic flow works. We send our guys to traffic directing school, so to speak, and that's under Chris's tutelage here to make sure that they understand that is an important piece to me. It's an important piece to the fan. It's an important piece to the experience to have a good in and out. We fixed it several years ago and intend to always keep improving it, but it really works these days. It's a neat way in and out. And we're going to have 40 some odd thousand people here. We have to be thoughtful about how we take care of our fans.
And then finally, Chris, on that note, we're also in a pandemic still, and the Delta variant is out there. And I know that a lot of people are vaccinated. Some are not, but masks are being worn at sporting events. Let's talk about how people can feel safe at your event, which is, I will add, a place that I went last year in the middle of 2020, went to back-to-back races outside and felt super comfortable at your place.
Yeah, that's one of the things we've never really completely backed off. I know a lot of places, as soon as the rules changed from last year, they kind of tossed a lot of things out of the way. We still have our hand sanitizing stations all through the midways. We are still encouraging the social distancing I've got a crew out there right now that have stencils, and they're putting the marks on the ground. All of our staff that interacts with the customers will be wearing masks as people are coming in through the bag check process. The fortunate thing for us is we have very little activity going on indoors. Most of us what we're doing is outdoors. But one of the things we are working with too is just some of the protocols in the midway areas and paddock areas and things like that, where we're working constantly and closely with NASCAR. A lot of the things are changing daily. We've had a few things that have been thrown our way just this week working through the Delta variant. So, we're really aware of what's going on. We're trying to be as responsible as possible to make sure that everyone does have a safe experience. So it's front of mind for us. Our announcers are going to be encouraging people that when they do, if they can't practice social distancing, to wear a mask. But there was a lot of things. We're still taking it very, very seriously because we still have an NHRA race coming up in one more month. We have a lot of other races to go. And after what we did last year, where we kind of set the standard for how to safely operate events, we don't want to be going backwards. So we're sticking to the principles of what we've worked from, and we're still going to be able to deliver a good, safe event for everyone.
Speaking of announcers, I do want to say that our hearts go out to the family and the friends of Bob Jenkins. What an icon, and I know a voice that resonates, Chris and Curtis.
Yeah, that was one of those things. I just got a copy of our souvenir program, which I had to write my welcome letter 2 or 3 weeks ago. And in that letter, I addressed that there's 3 men who've really been influential for me, and at the same time who've been a part of our team here at the racetrack. And one of them was Greg Stevens, great videographer who's worked with a lot of events that Greg used to help us come here with a lot of the production that we would do. We use his equipment to run the video screens. Robin Miller from the Indianapolis Star and from Racer Magazine, Speed Vision. Robin is the guy who went around and helped kick the doors open to help us get the introductions we needed for IndyCar. And then Bob was another key piece. Bob was an announcer here for us. The first race we hosted here on the oval after Curtis was on the track, Bob was our announcer, so he was part of our family. So I wrote this letter where I wanted to basically just recognize how important those guys were to us. I mean, they were a big part of this family. And unfortunately, after I submitted the letter, after the program went to print, we lost Bob. And that one really hit home. He was just such an important part of what we do here. He had a tough battle with cancer. Robin's going through the same thing. Robin has accepted what he has to deal with, and Greg is in the same boat. So for me, I'm losing. I know that the time is short for 3 really good friends. I've lost one now, but we're going to keep doing what we're doing because, as Bob said, he was the luckiest guy in the world because he was a race fan who fell into the greatest job he could ever have. I kind of share that same philosophy, and it was, yesterday Robin Miller did a tribute piece where he was paying tribute to Bob Jenkins and thanking him for the memories that he brought us. So we're very, when you look at the overall spectrum of racing, the scope of racing, the fact that we have so many great guys like that who've been behind what we're trying to do here, who believe in Curtis, who've helped me along the way and given me advice through many, many years, it's special, and it's going to be a somber experience. We're going to pay tribute to Bob, and we're going to make sure we recognize both Robin and Greg as they're doing their battles. But it was a sad day, but hey, at least we were part of it, and they got to see us accomplish some of the dreams that we've been working on.
Yeah, a legendary voice, television, radio, public address. Not 10 days ago, passed away at the age of 73. Bob Jenkins, one of the all-time greats. So before we go, pyrotechnics, flyovers, celebrities, Steel Panther, you got all the bells and whistles going. But Curtis, and by the way, this has been awesome to be with you guys. I mean, these are 2 of my great friends. This is like what the Garage Happy Hour is made for, is just sitting around drinking a beer and talking. But Curtis, I'll see you before the race, but I'm just curious, what will go through your mind right beforehand as you're walking around on the track? And I know you've talked highly about the group that's put this together, but what will that be like for you on Saturday, on Friday also, but on Saturday before your last event of the weekend?
Well, for me, Tom, it's like, the dream come true happens over and over. So every time that green flag waves, it's another full adrenaline rush of, wow, this is cool. And as a fan, I can say that. And then I look up into the stands and you realize that, tens of thousands of people are making a memory. And so I think that success for us is that they all leave with a new memory that lasts a lifetime. And that may be a little corny for some, but it's authentic to who we are. In our little world here, I think we are creating opportunities for families to draw closer, for folks to come out, have a great time, get out of the house, get away from all of the things that sometimes distract us from the important things in life, which are families and friends. So long answer to your question, but I think that there's, the dream keeps on giving, no doubt about it.
No, I think it's a great answer. You're creating memories for a lot of people. That's for sure. So we're gonna have some fun. Bommarito Automotive Group 500 is this weekend, Friday night, Saturday night, World Wide Technology Raceway. Cannot wait to be there. I'm going to be part of the Cardinals Hall of Fame ceremonies on Friday, not Saturday as much, but on Friday for sure. So I'll be back and forth. And I think that's also important to note for Cardinals fans. And I do encourage people when we wrap up here to go join KMOX because we're about to start Cardinals pregame. But, that the Cardinals are in town. So if you don't have tickets yet, I would make it a double dip. I mean, go see the Cardinals and then hop over and go see a race. To do one on Friday, one Saturday, or vice versa, and just have some fun with it, or hit the Cardinals on Sunday and hit both races. So it's definitely, they go hand in hand. This is a St. Louis sports team right here, Worldwide Technology Raceway. Chris Blair, Curtis Francois, have an amazing time. I'll see you guys at the track.
Great,
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks so much, Tom.
Absolutely. We're going to have fun. Bommarito Automotive Group 500. We're sponsored by Bommarito. They jumped in. They got on the Garage Happy Hour, and I am very grateful. They have been part of our Garage Happy Hour for a long time. So as we go here, we're going to hear a word from Bommarito. I'd love for you to hang on for that. And the Garage Happy Hour is back. So we took a little bit of a break during the summer just with everybody on vacation and people running around. But now that school's back in session and the parents have something to do at 5:30 on Thursday, we'll be with you right here on the Garage Happy Hour from my garage. Don't miss it. Sponsored by Bommarito Automotive Group. We'll see you next week.
With Bommarito, shop thousands of new vehicles. Get more for your trade. The Bommarito nationwide warranty, 10 years, 200,000 miles, and the best service after the sale. Bommarito, Missouri's #1 automotive group, open 24/7 at Bommarito.com.